But I think that like in the early days, especially, like we get tagged in so many different photos and we would just repost it. And that was just kind of a built-in free marketing for us. And people are stoked because they get their dog reposted. We're stoked. We get this like free photo. Things are obviously like completely different today. But back then that was part of our game plan for sure.
Welcome to Long Run Labs, a weekly podcast from the team behind For the Long Run, telling the stories of those running the outdoor industry where endurance and entrepreneurship meet. I want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this episode, Sketch. I use Sketch every single day. It's how I schedule almost every meeting in my life. Sales calls, podcast recordings, intro chats, follow-ups, all of it. And the thing that really sold me is what happens after something changes. If someone needs to move a meeting, Sketch just handles it. It finds a new time that works for both of us, updates the calendar, and I usually don't even have to think about it. No email chains for me. No, sorry, that time no longer works. No back and forth. If your week involves talking to other people, Sketch gives you hours of your life back every week. It's not just a booking link, though they do have that too. It's a system that protects your time and keeps things moving without friction. I'm partnering with them on Long Run Labs because I genuinely use it and because it feels like infrastructure for modern work. And I want everyone else to use it too, because when you use it, it already knows your availability and we can book a meeting faster. Check out sketch.com/longrunlabs for a very special offer so you can give it a try and add time back to your work week. That's skej.com/longrunlabs. And welcome back. We have Rachel Friedline joining from, I believe, Lake Tahoe, one of my favorite places in the world. It looks like it's snowing there. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me.
Of course. The first question is always a tough one. And that question is, who is Rachel?
Yep. So I live in South Lake Tahoe right now. I guess I've been here for quite a while. I'm originally from New Jersey and I moved out to California in 2010. You know, I think probably like everybody on this podcast, I like everything outdoors, skiing and biking and attempts at running, but maybe someday I'll be a runner. I'm not a runner quite yet. Yeah.
And you dabble in business.
Yes, that's true. So I started Wilderdog 10 years ago. So that was in 2015. I guess we're going on 11 years now. And yeah, we're still pretty much the same business that we were 10 years ago, just a little bit bigger.
Cool. Well, it's going to be awesome to talk about dogs for almost the entirety of this podcast. But let's start with the outdoor piece. So you live in a mecca of outdoor activities. You guys are having another monster winter, I think, with, I don't know, like another 100 inches coming in the next week.
Yeah, crossing fingers. It was supposed to start a few days ago. It keeps being pushed back. We got like 2 or 3 inches this morning. But yeah, I think 100 inches in the next 15 days, maybe.
So you're a skier?
Yes. Yeah.
What brought you out to Tahoe and what led to the like desire to be there? So
when I was in college, I during the summers had worked at Wendell's snowboard camp up in Mount Hood. And that was kind of like the intro for me for like, this is, I love this. I love the outdoors. I love this like extreme sports aspect of it. And I met my now husband, who's also one of my partners. We were at Penn State and he happened to work at Mount Hood summer ski camp. And I worked at Wendell's and we didn't even know that. So kind of like as soon as we met, we were like, let's go back to Oregon, let's go back to Portland, and let's just kind of settle there. Basically, we kind of ended up in California instead of Portland. But we were, the car was packed. We were heading out west and, Portland was the ultimate goal. But when there was a job opportunity in California, we realized how close to Tahoe that was. And that was kind of it. Yeah.
So you spent some time in Sacramento or was it straight to Tahoe?
It was straight to Tahoe first. We lived here for a little bit and then down to Sacramento for work. We were bopping back and forth between Sacramento and Tahoe. And then when we started Wilderdog, our warehouse location was Sacramento. So we kind of had to wait until that warehouse was on its own. Like at the beginning, we had one employee. And when the employee called out sick, that was us packing orders. So, even when we did move up here, we only had a few employees. So it was kind of like, if we have to go down there to pack orders when everyone gets sick at the same time, we'll do it. But it's, we've been growing enough and our warehouse staff is incredible right now. And so it's operating on its own and it's awesome.
So you launched the brand in 2015. What led to the desire to do that? I know we talked a little bit about that in our first meeting a few weeks ago. I love that story. So I'd love to hear a deeper version of the origin story.
This was 2013. Instagram was in its infancy, and we had a ski lease. There was a bunch of us. This is when I was living in Sacramento. So we basically all got a house together in Tahoe, and we'd come up every weekend, every chance we could get. And every Sunday night when it was time to pack up, everyone, there was like the one iPhone cord, and everyone was like, that's my cord. And my friend Andy, he had a red and blue fabric braided cord, and it was kind of cool. Everyone knew it was his. And like somehow, with Instagram, and like they weren't even called influencers at that time, but it was like these kids that were like selling things on Instagram, like way before Meta ads, way before anything official. And like somehow we were like, I think these cords are cool. I think that we could buy some and sell them with these influencer kids, and like let's just see. And so my background is in web design and front end development. And then, one of my partners has a business background. And then my husband, Jared, has like an affiliate marketing background that was sort of like he does a lot of different things. But we kind of just wanted to see what happened. And this was like way before these cords were in every gas station, and it worked. And we sold these cords. And so chargecords.com was founded, and that it's actually still in existence. It's on autopilot. It's not really doing much these days, but it still is in existence. But 2 years later, we're not really that passionate about iPhone charging accessories, but we were climbing a ton at the time, and then always using like our old climbing ropes and carabiners for dog leashes. And like that product existed, like the climbing rope carabiner dog leash existed, but I thought that like the colors weren't great, the prices weren't great, and I think I could design better ones. Designing a climbing rope leash, it's like the same process as a fabric braided iPhone cord. And so we found a rope manufacturer in the Central Valley of California. We got 4 colors made, and same thing. I like built a website. We were like, let's try it. Let's just see if people will buy these. And they did. And that was our first product. And then we went to collars. And from there, we do everything from like dog backpacks, dog sleeping bags, and anything else like you don't even realize you want or need for your dog. But then you realize you do. You do actually want all of it.
So you've started a few companies now. Are you someone that's pretty risk averse? You love taking chances? Talk to me about the ability to just try.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And I think, one of the things I credit our success to is like between myself and my partners is at our varying levels of risk tolerance. And so for me, I'm down to put time and effort and like a little bit of money into something. I'm always thinking like, will I get my money back on this product? And that's so I feel like I'm not that risk averse because I'm always thinking, will I get my money back? And like, and if not, or like, will I come close, or is it going to be a learning experience? And that's kind of how I look at it.
At what point did you realize you didn't want to work for somebody else and you wanted to build your own thing? Was it pretty early on?
Very early. Yeah. And I had worked like before I moved out west, I was living in Manhattan, working for some like big corporations doing web stuff, and it was fine. It was, a good experience. But I think like very early on, what I thought I wanted to do is do web design and development for other people, for other companies. And I tried that for like 2 years. And so not only do I not want to work for someone else, but I also don't want to make things for other people either, I realized. So I think just, making things for myself. And, I don't know if like, I am making things for myself with Wilderdog, but it is still for other people. I think because we are so small and lean, like I can listen to the customers. I hear the feedback. Historically with Wilderdog, I would just create things that I wanted, that I used. And I kept hearing over and over again, we want harnesses. And I don't use harnesses on my dogs. I don't, I think it like kind of encourages pulling, but it took years, but I finally made the harness and now it's our top seller. So, I am designing for myself, but for other people as well.
The piece about listening to customers versus creating for yourself, there's a massive benefit to being able to distinguish between signal and noise. And because somebody is loud about something doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. If 100 people are loud about something, it still doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. I was listening to Brian of Hollow Socks talk about the feedback he was getting from people who wanted his socks to be made in America or produced in America. And they would write in and they would ask a question and they'd say, is this produced in America? And the answer is yes. And like they still wouldn't buy. So just because somebody said something and you have the right answer for it or whatnot doesn't mean that they're going to take action. And conversely, if people are demanding something, but not actually transacting. It's all just noise. So how have you been able to distinguish between that signal and noise while keeping true to your goal of producing things that you want, while also knowing that, okay, you listen to the customer and now you have a top selling product that you might not have introduced otherwise?
And that is something that I encounter every day. I still do have my hands in customer service a little bit. We have a customer service team, but I'm still in there. So I still see everything that comes in. And I think that is hard. And I think that my instinct is initially, when I hear one piece of noise that comes at me, is to be pretty dismissive. So I think that like, I do know that people like, and dog people especially, are kind of nuts. Like I thought that I was a crazy dog person. Yeah. I now know
it's like an irrational spend often too.
Yeah, it is. And like people, you know, their dogs are their kids for a lot of folks. And I know we love that. I love that for sure. But there are still people who are like nuts, you know, who they come in and they're like, I can't believe you sell a leash with only one leash attachment. That's so dangerous. What if they get out? And like, you know, my instinct is like, that's like crazy and nuts. And I'm not going to even like consider this. But then like, something will happen. Well, I'll see something a few days later about a double leash attachment. And then it'll kind of click like, oh, like I think I need to talk about how we can make a double leash attachment from our 10-foot carabiner leash. I'll make a reel about it, or I'll make a post about it. And so I think that for me, to try to answer your question, the noise and the signals are kind of one and the same. It's kind of like, it kind of is enough noise does create a signal for me. So like another thing that we keep hearing is that we don't have enough gear for extra small and extra large dogs. And we are a small company, so we can't just have like 8 million SKUs for, you know, everyone's teacup chihuahua that like they don't really need a harness, you know, but we are working on an extra large. Yeah. They're not going anywhere. They're going to stay in your purse. It doesn't, you know, it's okay. But we're working on our extra large harnesses now. So yeah, I think enough noise does create a signal, but it also can for me can just be something that clicks, that creates another, you know, it leads to another creative avenue for me. So I do enjoy it, even if I initially dismiss it.
Say a little bit more about the fact that you still wear the customer service hat and the importance and value that has beyond just the one-to-one interaction with that specific customer.
I think that, you know, we're a lean team. We're super small. We have, you know, myself, my 2 partners, and then we have 5 folks in the warehouse. And they're in the warehouse. They are not just packing orders. That our customer service team is down there. Our like Amazon logistics, everything is down there. So, you know, I think that this like maintaining this like crazy level of control certainly has its downsides, but at the same time, I think that I don't ever get too far away from the brand, and I don't get surprised by some feedback that's like 6 months down the road that I wasn't aware of. So I'm pretty like I'm in it, and like even being in the warehouse, like I'm not in there as much anymore, but like physically touching all the products and seeing it, I think is super important. And I think it like leads to new products and new creativity and just thinking about where to go. Whereas I think if we were, you know, and hopefully we will be at some point, a, you know, much larger company, but inevitably you're going to be further from the product and further from like, you know, touching all the touch points of so much of this business. I
just did a podcast with Michael Brandt, the CEO of Ketone IQ, and he talked a lot about going from 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. And now he's got a 9-figure business that he's built. And his whole point was do one thing well. For him, it was deliver on the ability to ingest exogenous ketones and the benefit that has on the brain, on the body, et cetera. He's like, everything else can be figured out later. The taste, the packaging, the flavor, like distribution, the supply chain, the marketing, all of this stuff can be iterated on as long as you nail your one core value proposition. And I've worked with or for a variety of tech startups where there's one like core value proposition, and all the other ways that you deliver it or talk about it or whatever change over time. And as long as your North Star is that same, I want to do this thing better than anyone else, you can grow and iterate. What is that North Star for Wilderdog?
I mean, I think that it's honestly just inspiring people to get outside with their dogs. I think that we like I said, you know, our first rope leash wasn't a new product. So I don't think that we are coming out with, these like crazy inventions for people and dogs. Cause, you know, I think that we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but we are trying to make it better. And I do think that as the product designer, I think that our designs are better. And I think that they are affordable. I think that there's like, you know, prices are rising so crazily. And so I think that like keeping our prices affordable, keeping our products looking good, and also like functionally, they do function really well. And again, like because I have such a close contact with customers, like we fix anything that doesn't work. It's not like we're, you know, I think with some bigger companies, how they're planning their products for 5 years down the line. Like that's not us. So we're able to, because we're so lean and nimble, we're able to make the products better, you know, pretty quickly. And so we're constantly evolving our products, constantly making them better. But ultimately, we just want people to get outside with their dogs. And I think that, you know, culturally, we're in a different place now than we were 10 years ago. You know, during COVID, people were inside, but people bought and rescued a ton of dogs. And that like the dog ownership rates just exploded during COVID. And people are now used to having these dogs that just come everywhere with them. And, you know, maybe in some small way, we like did have something to do with that. I don't know. But I think that like in generations past, it was common for the dog just to like be a backyard dog or be a dog that gets kept in a crate in the laundry room while the owner is at work for 10 hours a day. Yeah, I think I just like I feel bad for those dogs. I feel like that's a kind of crappy existence. And I think that, you know, like they get so much joy out of being outside. And I think that they like having to, whether you consider it having to take your dog outside or getting to take your dog outside, like you're still getting outside with your dog. And I think that the outdoors is just such an incredible, like in this insanely crazy world where like the news feed it can be like pretty awful. You know, one place that you can go to get away from it all is the outdoors. And I think that the dogs are like a great method to get you there.
I totally agree. The world is insane. And the best part of the world is that dogs exist.
Yes.
And what I learned from having a dog is that they're so present and that like nothing matters to them besides what's in front of their nose in that moment. And there's like a lot to be understood from that. It's really cool that the whole purpose of your company is to basically facilitate some of the best parts of human and canine existence. Do you think about that piece ever? That like, right? So marketing is basically helping people feel some sort of emotion or helping someone realize the best version of themselves. Your product is helping to facilitate like some of the most joyous times in a human's life and the dog's life. How do you think about that?
You know, I think one thing that we didn't really think of when we started this whole endeavor with Wilderdog is that like, even though like, you know, the Instagram aspect was part of the business plan from the beginning, we didn't really think about the fact that people will never get tired of seeing dogs. Like
Totally.
I can't think of another industry where
you could post it constantly and it would not be enough.
Totally. And there's like, no one's going to get mad that they're seeing photos
right.
of cute dogs, like having a great time. That was a win for us for sure. And it still is that, you know, while every ad might not be a winner, it's kind of, I don't want to say easy. Easy is not the right word, but it's like forcing people to look at dogs is never a bad thing. And I think that there's so many different ways that you can look at dogs in the outdoors and like see yourself. I think in places, you know, where I live, like in Tahoe, my daily walk is like on a trail here. And that's incredible. And I'm so lucky and I know that every single day. But I think for a lot of people, you know, their walk is around the city block, but they have this time on the weekends that they want to go further and they want to be outside. And I think that like, hopefully, you know, that through our marketing that they're like, you know, oh, I did hear about this trail I saw someone on that's only 25 minutes away. Why don't I do that Saturday morning, you know?
Quick heads up, if you want to support the show, we've got paid subscriptions at $8 a month or $96 for the year. If you go annual, you'll get a For the Long Run hat while they last, plus some goodies from our partners. It helps us invest in higher quality production and rely less on ads so we can keep the show focused on the conversations you care about. Check it out at forthelong.run/subscribe, and thanks for listening. Pushing further on the point that like people love posting dog photos and it's like easy marketing. How or do you leverage customers for marketing and referrals and effectively as like micro influencers to their own communities?
That's another funny aspect that I didn't really think about is how many people would hit us up asking if their dogs could be Wilderdog models. That I want to say like maybe 50 inquiries a day, which is like, yeah, just a totally funny thing. Like I would have never thought to like email anyone asking if my dog could be a model. But, I think people love their dogs and like, similar to human children, like everyone thinks their dog is like the most beautiful creature that's ever existed, which I love that. I love that for them, But I think that like in the early days, especially like we get tagged in so many different photos and we would just repost it. And that was just kind of a built-in free marketing for us. And people are stoked because they get their dog reposted. We're stoked. We get this like free photo. Things are obviously like completely different today, but back then that was part of our game plan for sure.
What does it look like today?
So today with like the whole creator, and we're figuring this out as we go because I kind of think we're almost like reactive to, who isn't reactive to like the changing climate? But, it was like years ago, I reposted a photo of a dog wearing our gear and I tagged them and I got this angry message like, how dare you? You didn't pay me for this. And I was like, well, you got reposted by this like massive account. You're getting a ton of, eyeballs on you and your dog. And, and at the time I was like, that's ridiculous. But now, after some reflection, it was like, well, they're a photographer. I think they were pitching us to work with them and to pay them. And so that was definitely a pivotal moment of like, things are changing. I certainly don't want anyone to feel like we are like trying to make money off of them. But that was the climate at the time before then. It was like this reciprocal relationship. And that was also before like Facebook and Instagram shopping and like the links to, so now I totally see how it's like Instagram is not just for taking photos of your dog and your coffee and your tacos. It is like a mega.
Well, mine it is.
No, you're right. Yeah. I wish we could go. Honestly, a lot of times I wish we could just go back there, but it's a mega money making machine and every creator and everyone who's putting money into it should get paid. Absolutely. And so we're like figuring that out. Yeah.
What does that look like today?
So I don't know. I feel like I'm like, we have had this team of Wilderdog ambassadors that are photographers. A lot of them are side hustle photographers, but their work is really good. And we've had, honestly, at most 10. So it's a super small team. And basically it would look like we would just give them content. We have this like Instagram chat going. They tell me what they want. They tell me if they don't want it, if they're too busy, that's okay. They tell me send it. And if I don't get product or photos, that's okay too. It's a very casual relationship. And that worked really well for so long. And then every time we would use their photo, we would pay them for the photo. And everyone was very happy. I think that we're like this creator machine is definitely a lot different now than it even from then, even like people who are getting paid. So we are trying now to like reach out to more creators. But I think one interesting thing is that we're learning is like, even if someone takes incredible photos, videos of people or products, it doesn't translate to dogs necessarily. So, I feel like I'm spending a ton of time trying to like parse and curate and figure out like who is going to be, our best content creators. And honestly, to make like reels and videos, I find that most of the time the best one, I am creating the best ones and I don't like doing it. And it takes like an incredible amount of time to create like a 15-second video, but I still am creating some of that content myself.
The work with creators, is that all manual right now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have to do a shameless plug for a sponsor of this podcast, Super Affiliate. So let's walk through a demonstration of how it could work. So Super Affiliate has been sponsoring this podcast for a while. The reason for that is I reached out to them because it's an affiliate and partner management platform that I think is better than any of the other ones that I've worked with. Many of them are complicated, clunky, and include like very long UTM strings that you have to go back into emails to reference or log in. So they make it really easy on the creator side to say, like, for example, back to Ketone IQ, like I can remember that my landing page code is ketone.com/FTLR. You go there, you see my feedback on Ketone IQ, you see some video that I've taken, and it's just like really simple to produce the the referral to that brand. And then they have these incentives that you can create. And so you can give free product, you can give cash, you can give discounts, whatever. And so like the use case for you could be, you just onboard 50 people and it's a performance-based model where if it works for them, it works for you. If it works for you, it works for them. And so I've been sounding that alarm to any brand that like isn't using a platform like that as a way to systematize and structure the process of working with people. And then obviously the podcast network that I put together in a way to reach people via audio, but also, social, but that's less of a like capturing attribution unless there's a coupon code that closes that loop. But the systematizing and structuring of the creator campaign, I think this is about to explode in the next couple of years. And everybody wants to be an influencer these days, for better or for worse, mostly for worse.
A dog influencer, yeah.
Yeah, well, just in general.
Yeah.
Like I went to an event hosted by Popfly, which is another way to go about this, which I think
we are on Popfly.
You are on Popfly, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that way is one of the only ways I know of as a creator that you can go to a website and find a bunch of brands that you can work with for paid partnerships as well as product seeding. And so brands go to them and create these campaigns. The creators go to the website and find the campaigns to participate in. But my point was like, I went to this thing with Popfly. There were 100 people there. And it used to be that like, in order to be an influencer, you needed, 50,000 followers, 100,000 followers. And I met a bunch of people that are creators with like 2,000 followers. I was like, that's just having an Instagram account. But these people are making gobs of money from platforms like Popfly. And it's like, it's a bizarre world that we've come to where, you don't need to hire an agency to go source people and spend tons and tons of money. You can work with these micro influencers and drive meaningful outcomes. So I'm curious what your experience has been with a platform like Popfly, for example. How has that helped you structure and streamline?
Yeah. So, first, my partner Andrew did actually go to the Popfly event last night. Did you meet him by any chance? Yes. Yeah. He lives in Denver.
I don't know that I met him, but what a small world.
I know. Yes, we started using Popfly. I actually was introduced to them at Outdoor Media Summit in Durango, and we were not using anything like that at all. And I was like, this is going to be amazing. And it's been really cool. And I was emailing with Taylor, the Popfly founder, and I was like joking that I feel like I need a revenue share because of how many people I've like had, like every single person we've worked with. I'm like, just go to Popfly and we can work together over there, because it's so incredible. It's so easy to use, to find people. Like I didn't trying like previously, I would like find dogs on my like, what is it called?
It's a horribly unscalable. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just like, and I'd like try to message them. It was awful. So Popfly is awesome. I think that, what I'm finding with Popfly right now, and it's more like a reflection, like back to me on what I need to do is like, I need to do a better job of telling these creators exactly what I want to see. Right now, I'm just kind of like, yeah, show me what you're doing. Show me how you're using our gear. And it's not, I'm hoping that they like just magically like come to me with like this perfect thing. And we have had that happen, but it's obviously like so it's constantly my list of things to do, like create a new campaign for this and like write out exactly what I want my audience to get from this piece of content. So yeah, so that's on me, but I'm really enjoying that for sure.
Does AI play a role in any of your workflows?
No, I think that the only thing AI does is help me. I like my tone could be better through email. So I'll put some emails through there and say like, make this sound better. And that's pretty much how I use AI.
Huh. Yeah. And which model do you use?
I use ChatGPT, which I hear we're not supposed to use these days, but I haven't switched to anything else.
I heard that on Sunday and I switched to Claude and I pulled out my entire chat history from ChatGPT and I sent it to Claude and it basically said like, cool, now I have 3 years of your use history of ChatGPT, and it analyzed and it was like, this saves between 3 and 10,000 hours of work over the last, which is like months worth of work. But the Claude appears to be better at email communications and writes more like a human versus like the redundancy and like jargon that ChatGPT often has.
That's actually that's huge because one of the like It's like the only block for me in switching is that I feel like ChatGPT knows me. And so, yeah, and like exporting and importing it to somewhere else would actually solve that issue for sure.
Yeah. So I did that today, and the summary, it gave me like a 5-paragraph summary, and it says, I've absorbed 3 years of your work history. Going forward, I'll remember your business context, understand your communication style preferences, know your tools, platforms, and ecosystem, recognize recurring patterns and needs, anticipate the type of help you typically need. You don't need to re-explain your world to me. I've got it. So it's like crazy that now it knows, amazing. Yeah, it knows like what I've trained ChatGPT on. And again, this model appears to be better for like what it sounds like you're using it for as well.
I do. I just was thinking that I've been writing Instagram captions for so long that my brain is like empty. So I'll sometimes be like, what should I write about a dog looking at the snow? But I don't think I've ever used one that they've given me. Usually it's like, this is possum, So maybe Claude has better Instagram captions for me.
Give Claude a try.
Okay. Yeah.
I did a podcast with a guy named Jason Kuperberg. He created Roast My Strava, which is hilarious. And it's a way
I think I remember that.
Yeah. And so he talked through, so for others that are building outdoor brands, he talked through a workflow or like a way to think about the use of AI in creating efficiency in workflows, particularly for lean teams where like you're doing a lot. And his comment was like, there's probably a lot of things that we're all doing that are just repeated tasks that like don't need to be repeated and can just be like fully systematized. And so I'm just like very bullish on the whole like ability to create scale and leverage through the use of this tool. And I put together this podcast network and effectively taken the place of like what a marketing coordinator would do, which, no comment on the future of jobs. But anyway, it's worth another listen if someone hasn't listened to that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also want to learn more about how to rate my Strava too.
It's a good one. What is success to you?
I think that, what I see is daily success right now. And I think it's not that different from like in a very basic level. Something that I think is so cool is when I'm out in the wild and I see a dog wearing my gear. Like that to me is the culmination of success. Like it seems so small, right? But like that means like I created a product that someone wants. My partner marketed it in a way that this person found it. And then this warehouse that we set up, like executed and shipped it to this person. And they like it enough that they're wearing it. I just think that's like such a representation of success. It's just one dog wearing my gear.
What does that feel like?
It's very cool. I had a friend recently tell me they were like in Vegas or something. And they were wearing this hat they saw on Instagram, and someone came up to this guy and was like, hey, I love your hat. That's actually my company. Here is $100 gift card. Buy more stuff for free. And this guy with the hat, he told everybody he knew. He thought he met a celebrity, and he was like just so stoked that the owner, saw him wearing the hat. And so we are making our own cards. I thought that was such a cool idea. So if the person who did this hat idea is listening, thank you. I'm taking your idea. But yeah, I just want to because I feel like sometimes I'll be like, I like your leash and just like confirm that they made a good choice. But most of the time I'll just like tell whoever I'm with, I'm like, there's a Wilderdog harness right there. Yeah, it feels just like incredibly cool.
So I have this podcast network and there are about 30 hosts in it. And last fall when we connected after OMS, you offered to send product to a handful of the dog owners in the group. And so I shared that we had that conversation and you made that offer. And like 3 or 4 of them were like, I already have their stuff. And so it's like so cool when like here I was thinking I was introducing something totally new to all these people. And then they were validating like this is an awesome brand. So it's cool when like that loop is closed in a way like that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just like confirmation, like, yeah, like we're doing it. And cause it still feels so small to me because I'm in it. Like I don't have that like outside perspective. And when I see dogs around Tahoe, it's easy to be like, oh, they probably know a friend or like there's some connection. But then I'll be like visiting my mom in Georgia and I'll see a dog wearing that. And I'm like, that's wild to me,
Well, these were Buffalo, New York, and a couple in Boulder, Colorado. So
amazing.
There you go.
Yeah, I love it. Colorado is our hub for sure. Like
Yeah.
of Wilderdog customers. Yeah.
I mean, like 50% of people have dogs here. And like I pet 4 dogs on my run yesterday. They're just a lot of dogs. Where do you go from here?
Man, that's a good question. I think, we are completely bootstrapped. So like we've started small and we've grown. We've just continued to like reinvest back in our business. And so we are a slow growing company. And I think that like, I don't think it feels like I'm not striving by saying, we're just kind of taking it like one day, 1 month, 1 year at a time. And from here, we're just kind of like creating more gear, better gear. Something else we didn't really talk about is our purchase for a pup program. And so for every purchase made on Wilderdog, we donate a cup of food to a shelter or rescue. And each month we choose a new shelter or rescue. So that's like a very cool part of our business that I'm really proud of. We have donated over $500,000 to shelters and rescues, and we are going to continue. So I think that is another part, creating better, more gear, getting more people outside with their dogs, away from like this current doom scrolling news cycle. And then also being able to donate more kibble to shelters and rescues and encouraging people to choose to adopt.
I love that. Yeah, we had a brief chat in January after a foster event that I went to with a dog we were fostering. And I was like, oh, what are the chances that you'd like participate in another foster event? You were just like, yep, I'm all in. Whatever you need, just tell me. So it was really cool that you were willing to support that. And yeah, the fostering, those dogs need help and those programs all need more funding. So that's awesome. I want to go back to what you were just talking about, being bootstrapped versus taking outside capital. There's a lot of discussion about that lately around, building a lifestyle business that's great for a couple of partners that isn't, you're not forced to drive towards a certain outcome, versus some people want to grow faster and some people want to mass scale. And there are the trade-offs and sacrifices that come with each path. Why have you gone the bootstrapping route thus far? I
mean, I think that it's kind of like because we've been able to do it. And I like the fact that I have complete control over everything. That's pretty important to me. I think it'd be hard to let go of sections of this. Not to say like I don't think that we could benefit from like a strategic partner. I'm sure we could. But for right now, this feels right. And we've certainly taken calls from investors, from acquisition firms. So it's not something that we're like completely rolling out, but it has to be the like absolute perfect situation. What I want from speaking with people in that industry, like we're not going to find that perfect person. And so that's why I'm happy doing what we're doing.
And it gives you the permission to donate $500,000 to shelters. It gives you the permission to, donate product to foster events and things like that, where, there's upsides and downsides to doing that. And if you feel good about doing something, it's probably driving in the right direction. I have a friend who bought a running store in San Francisco, and he loves dogs also. And he's in a financial position where like he doesn't need the store to be a cash cow for him. And he can just like do the right thing and build for the community. And like, ultimately, my guess is that it will be more profitable and more fruitful in the long run because he's chosen to go that route, which removes the pressure from like needing to pinch pennies and make decisions for cost purposes, which has negative downline impact sometimes, which is, you're doing something to try and avoid something and you're creating it anyways.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that can still be, making those decisions can still happen regardless. But I feel that for sure.
What should people know about, you seem to be passionate about adopting and fostering. What should people know about that they might not know? But I'm guessing a lot of people listening to this love dogs. So let's go that route too.
I think that like there's still, a ton, like the, percentage of people who are buying dogs versus adopting has certainly shifted more towards adoption. But I still think that there's this stigma around like secondhand dogs, that people, they really want a puppy because they feel like they know what they're getting and they can guarantee that the dog is going to be a good dog. And like, we can talk about nature versus nurture, all we want, but like, you're not guaranteed to get a perfect dog just because you got a dog from a puppy. And I think there's so many good dogs that are sitting in shelters that are like just languishing away. It doesn't have to be that way. And then, there's the argument of like backyard breeders versus ethical breeders, which is something else entirely. So I'm not even going to get into that, but I just really want to focus on the sheer number of dogs that are just like sitting in a shelter. And there's nothing wrong with these dogs. And like your home can be the perfect home. I saw this campaign. I think it might've been like, actually, I think it was like for foster children, like for human children, but it was like, you don't have to be a perfect parent to be a perfect foster parent. And like, a lot of people are like, well, I work 8 hours a day, so I can't adopt a dog. But like, guess what? There's like middle-aged dogs that are sitting in a shelter that would love to be in your house all day while you work. And like, they'd much rather be there than sitting in the shelter. So yeah, I think I just, want to like get that out there. And I think that also knowing how many really underpaid or volunteers that are working to try to better the lives for these dogs is like, they're so underappreciated. And I think that like, I would love to foster and adopt like 8 million dogs. So while I'm not doing that, I hope that like our financial donation can help these folks who are helping the dogs directly. That's pretty important to me.
How many dogs do you have?
Right now, just one. We had 2 pass in the last like 2-3 years, but they were like, Charlie was 15 and a half. Bucko was 13, but he had like lived with cancer for 4 years. So he had a great run. And now we have Gus, the border collie, who is like, he's the story with Gus is that he came from a ranch in Idaho. And so my dog, I like the border collie mix. So like I was already like, once my border collie had passed, I was looking for like a border collie mix at a shelter. And that's another thing, like at shelters and rescues, like you can find your breeds. Like people do have breed desires and like you can find that. So you don't have to get just like whatever breeds they have. So anyway, it was a friend of mine had an accidental litter, which, that is the reason we are in the position we're in with these shelters and rescues is because of these accidental litters. So this like little puppy, and I also don't like puppies. I'm like more into like a dog. Like the puppy phase is like that's not really, I've not my favorite. Anyway, this little puppy nobody wanted because he was too lazy. And the ranchers were like, he's not going to be a working dog. And so like, I just kept seeing this dog. And I finally was like, it felt like it was just calling to me. And I said, like, I really, really wanted to grab a dog out of a shelter. Like that was my goal. But I was like, all right, well, are you going to spay the mom and not have any more accidental litters? And they're like, apparently for a working dog, if you spay or neuter them, they don't give you the same output. But somehow I convinced them to spay the mom dog. So there's going to be no more accidental litters. And I took this one lazy dog that the rancher said basically like, if no one wants the dog, it ends up at an auction, which is worse than a shelter is my understanding. So that's the story about Gus. So Amazing. Now I have a lazy border collie. Yeah.
That's great. A good lap dog, I'm sure.
Yeah. Still like a high energy dog, but not a border collie like
for that type. Yeah. Rachel, this has been a blast. Was there anything else you wanted to talk through today?
No, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. This was super fun.
Of course, and thanks for everything that you do and for sending the leash and collar that you sent to us. We can't wait to use it soon.
Awesome.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Long Run Labs. If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's building something of their own. We'll be back next Tuesday with more stories at the intersection of endurance and entrepreneurship from the people shaping the outdoor industry in ways big and small. Until then, keep showing up, keep asking questions, and we'll see you out there. This show is produced by Dylan Delaney of Delaney Video LLC with musical composition by Brian Walters of Single Track Sound and managed overall by Emily Holland of Wild Poppy Creative.